Good morning. It is 10:08, and I'd like to call the meeting to come to order. This is a public meeting. We're being videotaped and recorded, and I'd like to ask if you would please turn off your phones. Everybody. I was the one that left mine on last time. If you would turn off your phones, that would be great. And I see we have two people here to publicly testify, and I've got your forms all filled out, so that's great. Let me just give a quick roll call here. I'm Robin Kauser and present. Helen?
Here, present.
Helen Masick. Misty Dempsey. Okay, Misty's not here. Latricia Niagos.
Here.
And Betty Daniels Mills.
Here.
Okay, so we have one person that is not here, but we do have a quorum. Okay, I do believe that we all received our minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read your minutes? And are there any corrections? No. Okay, may I have someone make a motion to approve?
Betty Daniels motion to approve. I second.
Who seconded it?
Ellen.
Okay, and Helen Masick seconds. So if there are no further corrections, then we're going to approve the minutes. And that brings us to public comments. Before we start with the public comments, if you will please state your name and speak into the mic. Just a quick overview. We're really glad y'all are here and appreciate that you're here to make comments. We will receive those comments. We are not going to be answering any questions, and if we need any further information from you, we'll ask you questions. Generally, we like to keep it between 3 and 5 minutes, but since there are not very many people here to talk, say what you need to say, okay? All right, Heather Sheffield, please.
And if you would, just identify yourself and who you're with.
Okay. Hi, my name is Heather Sheffield, and I am the parent of 2 dyslexic children. I just first of all want to thank all of the cults because I think you all do amazing work, and I'm so just grateful for all of the work and the help that you give to children. So both of my children were originally diagnosed with dyslexia and given 504 plans. After a few years of continuing to struggle even with intervention, they eventually got FIEs and qualified for IEPs and special education. And I am thankful to be one of the parents that knows that special education is not a place, it is just a service. So I just think that that's really important also for everyone to recognize. My children are lucky to be in a district that knows how to address their needs and that has the resources to provide appropriate services, but that's not the way it is in the majority of the state. And most families cannot afford to pay a cult to provide good intervention with fidelity. There is a huge need for dyslexia therapists and practitioners, as you all know, to also have some sort of a special education license or designation so that they can provide the amazing specialized instruction that they are so good at providing to the dyslexic children in public schools outside of 504 plans. I'm not advocating for cults to be the only special education teacher that these children see, but it is important that they are able to serve the kids that need them during the school day at public schools. Cults not having some sort of a SPED designation makes this a hurdle for many public school districts. As you probably know, approximately 1 in 5 people are dyslexic, and approximately 80% of those also have other co-occurring disabilities. Since the special ed cap has been lifted, districts are now being required to identify, test, and serve more kids, thankfully. Sorry, I lost my place. That means that the number of children that receive services under IEPs will grow exponentially. It is imperative that these children be served by highly trained people with knowledge about dyslexia and not just a teacher with a special education certificate. I would appreciate your help to figure out how we can get this done and to get highly trained dyslexia therapists and practitioners to serve more children while assisting school districts to provide FAPE. Thank you for your time.
Heather, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Heather?
I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
Okay. All right, thank you for coming, and thank you, appreciate what you had to say. All right, Robbie Cooper.
Hi, my name is Robbie Cooper, and I'm with Decoding Dyslexia Texas. And I'm just for the record, I know on your agenda you're going to be talking about the Dyslexia Handbook updates. I'm also on the committee. I'm one of 2 parents that are on the committee for that. And I'm excited to have that come out at some point so everyone can review it. But I want to reiterate what Heather had brought up. There's a real great need for the services that CULTs provide. There's nobody that has higher and better training than what y'all require of your practitioners. And some of the kids that really need it the most are the children that end up with IEPs. They may need more of what you do. They may need it at a slower pace or more repetitions. And we know that through science. And if you look at various data points within testing, neuro testing, you can kind of tease out which kids are going to need a little bit more of what you do. So, I've asked several times. I just want to make a statement from the TEA to explore having dyslexia therapists become an equivalent as a service provider, sort of, I think, in line with what a speech language pathologist would be, so that you can serve children in special education and in 504 and be paid for appropriately, and districts can budget for your services. I think it's really important that there's no barriers to get instruction, and there's no barriers to your instruction for kids that need it, regardless of where their placement is. So I'm hopeful that and encouraged that maybe you can look into that further, what y'all might need to do to make that happen. But really, we're just thankful for everything and the time and commitment that your organization puts into our kids' needs. My child has benefited greatly, and I'm available for any questions. I'll be here for the remainder. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Robbie. Does anybody have any questions right now? No, but thank you for being
Thank you.
here. Okay. All right, we are going to move on to our staff reports then, and the licensing division. Hello.
Good morning, advisory board members. Leonard Rivas with the licensing division. To my right, I have April Nahad. She's one of the team leads on my team.
Hi. Hi, April.
You have the licensing report in front of you with third quarter numbers. As you can see, for the most part, the numbers stay about the same each quarter. Currently, we have 45 dyslexia practitioners and 849 dyslexia therapists. Do you have any questions about the report?
I'm just looking at, from the report, we have 9 new and 8 just up into this quarter, and 8 that have renewed. Is that correct?
I'm not sure you're looking at the right report. For which license type?
I'm
Robin?
sorry, under practitioners.
Okay, under practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
for the third quarter, we issued 3 new licenses,
Mm-hmm.
and we had no renewals. Are you looking at?
Oh, I guess I'm looking over the whole.
Oh,
I'm
the whole
looking over
thing.
two-
Okay.
2018.
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right, good. And so we have another quarter and we're already up.
Yes.
Okay, great. Do you all have any
So
questions?
this is good. It's increasing.
We're headed in the right direction.
Wonderful.
So this is Latricia Nikos, and looking at your report, the renewed licenses, so I'm looking at practitioners.
Okay.
Renewed licenses issued is 3, online renewals is 2. So what you're telling me there is that 1 did not use the online services?
So,
So I'm looking at first quarter.
right, so for the first quarter?
Mhm.
Okay, so we had 2 new licenses issued for the first quarter. For renewed, we had 3 new licenses, and then 2 renewed online and 1 mailed in their renewal application.
Okay, so the 2 that renewed online are included in that total of renewed?
Correct. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, anybody else?
I have a question. When it comes to the therapist, this is Betty Daniels. On the second quarter, we decreased for the therapists for 2018?
Is the population by 10, yes.
Okay.
But then you also,
Then we went back up.
correct.
Okay, I got it. Okay, thank you.
And we still have and we still have
We still have the
another
fourth quarter, correct.
Okay, I see.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure.
Okay. Anybody else?
So the other thing I would like to talk about today is we have made some changes to the dyslexia application and the online application. So TDLR staff has been working to improve and streamline the application process for the dyslexia program. Changes will improve efficiency, remove burdensome requirements, and reduce the number of deficient applications and the number of calls to our customer service division. I'm going to go over the changes we made on the paper application.
Okay. Do we have a copy of that?
I did
letter?
not, I can provide a copy. Do we want to make a copy now, or I can get you a copy after?
If you can get
Okay.
a copy
Sure.
after for all 4 of
Yes.
us, that would be real helpful.
Okay. So for the application, the changes that were made is we will no longer require the applicant to submit their transcript. They will attest that, yes, they have a bachelor's degree for the dyslexia practitioner, if that's what they're applying for. And then they will sign the application affirming that the information they provided is true and correct. And for the dyslexia therapist, they will also check that they have a master's degree and sign the application affirming that the information they provided is true and correct. We will still require a copy of their certificate,
Of their
their ultimate certification,
certification to be
yes.
able to be eligible to
Correct.
even apply?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the changes that were made to the application. We've also updated our online application. It will ask the same questions. Do you have a current bachelor's degree? If you say no, it will say this transaction is not suitable for you. If you say you're applying for a master's for the therapist level, but you don't have a master's degree, you'll get the same message. We're also adding on the online application for the applicant to enter their education information. So if they apply for a dyslexia therapist, but then in the education field, they put they have a bachelor's, we won't issue the license.
Okay, Robin Kauser, I've got a question on that.
Sure.
When you have, for either position, is there a place, and from looking online, there is not, but is there a possibility of having a place where the person can supply the name of the university in which they received their, whichever degree it is that they need to supply?
Yes, we are working on that, yes, for the
Okay.
online application, yes.
Great, so that's a way that there is a checks and
Correct.
balance.
Yes, ma'am.
For TDLR to be able, and the applicant will know,
Yes,
okay, that can be checked without, even if they don't have to provide
correct,
a transcript?
yes.
Okay.
So this is Latricia Nigos. So it is my understanding that if you have a practitioner's certificate through ALTA,
Mhm.
you have to provide them with your transcript.
Correct,
If you have, and that's a bachelor's.
right,
If you have a CALT certification, you do not have to have a master's, you only have to have a bachelor's. And so there's not that check that the master, because we can rely on ALTA for the practitioner level, but it seems to me that we cannot rely on ALTA for the master's level. So do you intend to, so we are not certifying to the public that they do have a master's. We're only going by the signature. And so we are waiting until something happens to check whether they have a master's or not. Would that be correct?
That would be correct. However, they do affirm on the application that the information they provided to us is true and correct. And in that situation, if someone filed a complaint, say against you, and you didn't have the proper certification, then that would be for our enforcement department to address that issue with you, and then we would proceed from there.
Okay, so I'm going to follow up with
Sure.
that. As a parent, I want to know when they have a license that, I guess there is an assumption from a parent standpoint that that has been checked, or that I can rely upon that, other than just a signature.
So I will tell you that here at TDLR, there are other programs that we streamline as well. They require bachelor's degree, and also we're doing the same thing with those programs. We're just having them check that they have it, and then verifying their credentials without the transcript. And
So you do verify the information?
correct,
So
not
you-
the transcript, just the certification. So we would verify their certification,
Oh, so that's through ALTA.
right?
Did you have something else you wanted to say?
No, I understand. I'm not going to say that.
We
mean,
can
I
talk
get
afterwards
it,
if you'd
yeah,
like.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Robin Kauser, I believe that from, and I'm sorry, I think it was the strategic plan that we went over last meeting, that's part of what TDLR is doing, is to streamline some things.
Correct.
But I think that our concern is that we want to be certain that, well, first of all, we're here because we're
Right.
very proud of the licensure, and that is the highest standard that can be achieved. And as parents, we also want to make sure that other parents are aware when somebody is licensed. And so there's just, I guess it's just incumbent upon you all and your department to make sure that when somebody signs on the dotted line, and that's why I would feel better to have a university listed that we know is a university that is accredited, and a university that would have provided what we're looking for a four-year bachelor's
Right.
degree or a master's degree, that is checked, so that we will be certain that is, I mean, we're hoping that everybody that puts in their application and signs is telling us the truth.
Right.
But
We-
there is an extra check to it.
We can add to the application or look into adding the education on the application, where you would list the university, your degree, and the dates of,
Perfect. The
we can
dates,
do
too.
that, right.
Good? Not good.
I'll talk to you after.
Carla James, TDLR. We'll have a discussion with you after that. Madam Chair, I think that you have already spoken with our executive director about
Yes.
this, and he has provided that we will look into this.
Yes.
But Leonard is 100% accurate. This is not the only profession that we take with a signature. And I very definitely understand the issues that you're speaking of.
Okay. So will we speak afterwards, after the meeting is over today?
Sure.
Yeah.
About this? Okay.
Okay.
We just can't have a quorum. So,
All right.
Anything else? Any other questions?
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
all.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move to the second item under staff reports, which is Customer Service Division.
Good morning, advisory board members. My name is Tuan Nguyen. I'm the manager for this program in customer service. As you can see in our June stats, we had a slight decrease, about 10 less contacts than the usual average. And then it went a little bit back up around July, and then August went back down again to about 50-ish contacts.
Excuse me, Quan, are we on the bar chart? Is that what we're talking?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. I'm with you.
And what people are still inquiring about is just checking on their license status. Have you received my documents? Have you received my transcripts? And then, of course, sometimes they have questions about the application process.
Okay.
But other than that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me.
This is Helen Mason. Can you just tell us the numbers for August? They're not on our chart.
Oh, August is 31 for emails and 19 for phone calls.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Betty, good?
I'm good.
Okay, I have a comment, Robin Kauser. Quan, I have had some concerns expressed to me that when people have left messages with questions that they have, specific questions that may be very clear on the website, but they still need the comfort of knowing. And since they're not, in the past, we would come and present all of our things to you all, but now it can be done online. They're not, the phone calls are not getting returned, and I wanted to make sure, and I didn't have time before this morning, before I got here this morning to check that the phone number on the website is actually the correct phone number.
Yes, so the 1-800 number is our 1-800-803-9202 number. And yes, when people call in and they were requesting for a callback, we will always try to do an initial callback, but we'll send them a phone call. It does come from a state line, so sometimes it does, we have seen instances where it might show up as spam, depending on what kind of network you have, but it's still TDLR.
Okay. Hang on just a second. I
Sure.
have to find where I want to write that down. So how can that be
We
rectified?
are still looking into it to see if we can get our own individual number for TDLR. And of course, if something like that ever happens, customer can definitely email in. We are very quick on our emails. Our turnaround time for that is less than 24 hours. Usually it's like 4 to 8 hours.
Okay, is there a way that on the website that it can, until there is a individual phone number, that can be added to the website, that if you have not gotten a return call within 24 hours, please email us?
We will definitely discuss about that and see what we can come up with.
Okay, that'd be great. Are y'all good with that?
Very good.
Okay. Thanks, Quan.
No problem.
Item number 3, the Enforcement Division.
Good morning, Chair Kauser and board members.
Good
My
morning.
name's Karen Cox. I'm a prosecutor in the enforcement section. And I have, in the prosecution section, enforcement division. I am, these are the key statistics for our entire enforcement section, enforcement division, for 11 months of fiscal year 2018, September 1 through July. We opened 9,572 cases. We resolved 8,836 cases. We received 1,227 agreed orders. We assessed a little over $3 million in penalties, and we collected $1.3 million in penalties. May I answer any questions?
Well, you didn't say the most important part of that report, where the asterisk is.
We've had no enforcement activity in your program. And in fact, I can tell you, we've never had any enforcement activity in the dyslexia therapists.
Okay,
So, congratulations.
thank you, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Okay, all right, thank you, Karen.
You're very welcome.
All right, last time we were here, I think it was your first week, right?
No.
Am
I think
wrong?
I think the last time that we were here, I've been at the agency since 2005.
Oh.
I think the last time I was here, it was the first time I reported for this program.
Okay, that's it, that's it. Okay,
This
good, well,
is
thank
Derek
you.
Burkhalter. Actually, our last meeting, it was my first week.
Thank you, I appreciate that. You're very welcome. Okay. All right, we are ready for the Regulatory Program Management Division.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Heather Muir, and I am the manager for the Medical and Health Professions section of Regulatory Program Management. We've had a few staff changes. You saw my face during the last advisory board meeting where Yvonne said that I would be taking over the position. Stephen Mills, who was the former manager, did retire on August 31st, so I kind of stepped into my new role on September 1st. We also have 2 new hires that started on September 1st. Sitting to my right is Mary Hoffman, and she will actually be the program specialist that is assigned to this program. So she's wonderful. She's been with the agency almost 2 years and had actually supported Yvonne with this program before this transition has happened. We also have a second hire. His name is Stephen Iker, who's sitting in the back. He is another wonderful hire from DSHS. Formerly, he was a compliance specialist in environmental health services there. Has a lot of history and information and background that will help him be very successful in this position. I don't think our director, David Gonzalez, has ever been introduced to this advisory board. He is back here. He's my boss. So he is the director for Regulatory Program Management. So he's over RPM for all of the programs that we have here at TDLR. And he is new to his role, probably about the last 5-6 months. So a lot of staff changes. Now I'm going to turn it over to,
Heather, if I could real quickly.
yes.
Carla James, TDLR. Heather's not giving full credit to herself or Mary. Heather and Mary came from the Department of State Health Services, so they have a long history in these types of programs. And David has been with the agency 20 years?
Yes.
21 years. So I don't want you to get the impression that we handed you over
No.
to the new folks. These folks have been at this a while and know what they're doing. We're just glad to have them associated with you.
Good, thank you.
Yes, we have. Thank you, Carla.
Before we move on, I didn't get Stephen's last name.
Eaker.
Could you spell
That
that for
is
me?
U-E-C-K-E-R.
U-E.
C-K-E-R. And he is actually on your report, the 3rd bullet. So if you need to refer back to that, then you can.
Got it. Right
Hoffman
there
is
he
much easier.
There they
H-O-F-F-M-A-N.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So I'm going to let Mary give the update for the Medical and Health Professions section.
Thank you.
Good morning, committee
Hi,
members.
Mary.
So, in August, the Medical and Health Professions section delivered their 4th edition of the TDLR Health Monitor. So we hope that you are receiving those and enjoying those. I just wanted to mention that if your industry ever feels like there's some information or event that you want to share through the TDLR Health Monitor, feel free to contact us, and we can work on trying to get that information into the next newsletter. The newsletter is received, is sent out to about 26,000 recipients. So it reaches a far distance. So any information or news that you think would be relevant or interesting to your industry, feel free to contact us. Additionally, the medical and health profession staff is continuing to work on the web content initiative. The Dyslexia Therapy webpage went live in August. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Robin Kauser, I know somewhere on here, and I'm missing it, but that's a quarterly newsletter, isn't it?
That is a quarterly
Okay.
newsletter, yes.
And we would contact you? if
You-
we had something that we wanted, that our profession wanted to add to that newsletter?
You can contact me. On the newsletter, there should be a contact for our group. If you
Okay.
have any information, you can send an email to our group, and we will all receive that. And since I'm new, a new lead for your program, I'm also going to email each of you with my contact information. I don't have my business cards available yet, so that you can reach me.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Thank you. Any questions? Anyone?
No.
Okay, good. Thank you, Saul.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving to the executive office.
Madam Chair and Advisory Board members, I'm Nick Boenas, TDLR Chief of Staff, and I'm joined today by Carla James, our Deputy Executive Director. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service. Just want to bring you a little summary of what's been going on around the agency since you've last met. As we discussed in more detail, the strategic plan was in the works at that time. It's been since completed and submitted to the Office of the Governor and the Legislative Budget Board. It's available for viewing at tdlr.texas.gov, and none of the initiatives proposed would directly affect this program. Following that, Carla and our staff went to work on our legislative appropriations request. That report was also completed and submitted to the Governor's Office and the LBB, and it too is available at tdlr.texas.gov. Our Executive Director and staff have participated in interim legislative hearings. We testified at a joint hearing of the Governor's Budget Office and the LBB, as well as hearings of the Senate Business and Commerce Committee, House Natural Resources Committee as well. We also appeared as a resource witness at a hearing of the Senate Criminal Justice Committee, in addition to attending the most recent hearing of the Sunset Advisory Commission. All this is in preparation of the next legislative session come January. Also like to talk to you a little bit about outreach, including your website, and update you on some traffic numbers associated with this program. Over the past 6 months, the Dyslexia Therapy website had 5,992 page views. It's an average of 33 page views a day. 55% of those visitors accessed your site through a desktop, while 38% did so from a smartphone and 7% from a tablet. We also wanted to mention our social media accounts to help you keep up with TDLR activities and news. We're on Facebook and Twitter. And also wanted to mention our listserv subscribers. We have a group of more than 4,800 subscribers who receive various emails pertaining to this program specifically, and that includes the health monitor that Mary mentioned. So if someone is not receiving those email blasts, they can go to the website and subscribe there, and we'll begin receiving those immediately. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? I missed the total number. If you don't mind telling me the total number again, it came out to 33 page views per day.
5,992 over the last 6 months.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the report. Okay, we will move on to item F on our agenda, and it is discussing possible action related to the State Board of Education's amendments to its rules in response to House Bill 1886.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Derek Burkhalter, the Assistant General Counsel assigned to your program. Okay, so the information packet that you received concerning this item, first, the changes that are identified in black text are those changes that were approved at the State Board of Education's April meeting, and those were posted for public comment to the Texas Register. After the public comment period, they made a few extra changes, and those changes were identified in red text in the document that was included in your packet materials. Generally, looking over these, they of course, lay out the requirements for school districts with regard to dyslexia students and the procedures for screening and identifying those students. My general sense was that most of these changes would not affect the actual practice of dyslexia therapists or practitioners. But again, that's kind of up to your expertise to make that determination ultimately. I'm happy to give a general review of all the changes, or I can just kind of focus in on the ones that seem to me as if they could affect the standard of care for dyslexia practitioners. I think probably the change that you'll see most throughout the changes is the addition of the phrase open enrollment charter school added to school districts so that it imposes all of these requirements on these charter schools as well. Just to make sure that we're all on the same page and understanding what open enrollment charter schools are. Open enrollment means that they're not attached to a particular school district, so regardless of your address of residence, you can enroll in this school with, regardless of where you live. You don't have to fall within the district. And then of course, charter school means essentially that they're independently run public schools using public funds, but they have more flexibility in their operations. They're not subject to some of the same requirements that school districts are subject to. And in return for that, they are held to a higher degree of accountability for their performance. And so these are public schools. They are given public funds, but they cannot be operated for profit, of course. And so it just allows some flexibility and allows some schools to exist that kind of fill the gaps where the school districts are overpopulated or having issues. So, through several of the changes, you'll see the addition of this phrase and open enrollment charter schools. One change that I noticed in subsection B, and this is just a small change, but they've added the phrase individualized, or I'm sorry, in subsection B, they've added the phrase evidence-based instructional services. And so that seems to add kind of a stricter requirement to the instructional services that are provided.
I'm sorry, Derek, where are you?
I'm in, again, we're referring to Title 19 of the Administrative Code, Rule 74.28, and subsection B.
B, okay,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
So that rule reads, the Board of Trustees of a school district or the governing body of an open enrollment charter school must ensure that procedures for identifying a student with dyslexia or a related disorder and for providing appropriate evidence-based instructional services to the student are implemented in the district. And so the addition of that phrase, evidence-based, is an additional qualifier for the instructional services. I think, most of our all of our licensees, I would suspect, are held to evidence-based standard already.
Yes.
And so I wouldn't think that that would add anything substantial to our requirements. Likewise, in subsection D, we also have the addition of individuals who are trained in valid evidence-based assessments. A similar change probably is not going to affect our licensees. Skipping down to subsection J, the last sentence of that subsection is something they've added. School districts and open enrollment charter schools may not use early intervention strategies, including multi-tiered systems of support, to delay or deny the provision of a full and individual evaluation to a child suspected of having a specific learning disability, including dyslexia or a related disorder. Again, this applies to the school districts, but I would think that our licensees would have a similar ethical duty to not delay the full evaluation of an individual just because they are trying to pursue early intervention strategies or something like that. Again, it may be kind of a stretch, but that was something I identified that, maybe this would apply to licensees as well. It's probably covered by our ethical rules that already exist. you know, I don't know that we would need something additional to address this. And then one further thing I would point out that seemed relevant to me is in subsection K, subpart 4, and this was added after the public comment period. Each school district and charter, open enrollment charter school shall provide a parent education program. This program must include, and then going down to subsection 4, information on qualifications of those delivering services to students with dyslexia and related disorders. So, you know, they're required to provide the information, how are these individuals qualified to deliver services to my child? You know, that's the obligation of the school district, but, you know, maybe our licensees also have a duty to provide their qualifications to anyone they serve as well. Those were the major substantive changes that I felt would be relevant to our discussion. Everything else seemed to either be cleaning up some of the terminology. They kind of moved things around within subsections a little bit. If there are any other questions on any other subsections, I'm happy to address any of that or any discussion that we'd like to have.
This is Latricia Nigos, and I have a question. It has been brought to my attention that there are some school districts who have asked those who are qualified but who are not currently delivering the services of remediation, and the school system has asked them not to make public their qualifications and their licensed dyslexia therapy certification. Is there any, where does the school district have that right to ask them not to? And does the licensee have an obligation?
Well, based on these rule changes, it appears that they have added that requirement on the part of the school districts that they
But
must.
that's only if they're delivering the services, though.
So you're talking about individuals who are not delivering the services.
Because this, well, yeah. So here's the situation. So a school district doesn't want to deliver the services because it costs them money, right? And so the teacher is qualified to deliver the services. They've been asked not to deliver the services and asked them to not let parents know that they are qualified to deliver the services.
Okay. Well, if they're not providing the services, I don't see that there would be any kind of legal obligation for them to state what their qualifications are.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. So I don't know of any specific legal provision that addresses that specific scenario.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Betty Daniels Mills, I have a question on the G. Can we go back a little bit?
Subsection G?
Subsection G.
Okay.
And here is a whole area that's been underlined, and is this something that's been added in there according to what I read, correct?
Yes, yes. If it's underlined, that means that this is language they're adding, correct?
Okay, so the first thing it says, it's before a full individual and initial evaluation is conducted to determine whether a student has a disability under the Individuals with Disability Education Act. The school district or open enrollment charter school must notify the student's parent or guardian or another person standing in parental relation to the student of its proposal to conduct an evaluation consistent with Code 34, Code of Federal Regulations, provide all information required under subsection of this section, and provide, and it goes on. My question is that first title where it says a full individual and initial evaluation is conducted. Is that they're saying two different evaluations there? A full individual evaluation that's conducted is considered through an IEP, or am I mistaken? My question is, or are they saying one can be done or the other, an initial evaluation? I need clarification, and maybe I'm reading it wrong.
I see that too.
And I actually do not know the answer to that question. I don't know if they're considering these two separate things.
Okay,
Or-
and that was my question. Is it two? Is it a full individual evaluation that has to be done? Is it, and an initial evaluation? Are they two separate evaluation, or is it one evaluation?
Well, it seems that the inclusion of the word "and," individual and initial evaluation, that those two words have to be taken together. So I would think that it would not be two separate evaluations that they're referring to here.
Okay. So does that mean that a full individual evaluation has to be done to identify dyslexia? I'm just trying to clarify, and I was reading this and I highlighted it, and I maybe there can be just a little bit more further clarification when it comes to the evaluation for
Okay.
dyslexia.
Well, with regard to this specific subsection G, I don't think they're imposing a requirement in this subsection
Okay.
that the evaluation, the individual evaluation be done.
Okay.
They're only saying that if you are doing one, before it can be done, this information must be provided to the parents.
Correct. Okay, then I understood that. I just wasn't sure if I was reading it wrong or not.
Oh, that's the way I understand it. I guess,
We can, Carla James, TDLR, we can certainly ask for some clarity on this, because these are not our rules.
Right, and I know
So,
it's
I mean,
been
we can tell you what we think,
Okay.
but, we'll ask Derek to reach out to TEA and see if we can get some clarity on that.
absolutely, I'd be happy
And then we'll
to,
provide you that information via email.
Okay, thank you, Derek.
absolutely.
Robin Kauser, I think also part of that need for clarification is because 1886 provides that the kids are going to be screened kindergarten and first grade. And so after that screening, if it's determined that they need to have a full evaluation, then they should have a full evaluation. And so there's a little bit of confusion there, just because they're going to be required to do the screening. Are they required to do the full are they saying full evaluation, or are they saying either or?
Mhm.
Okay.
And when they make the revisions to their handbook, it may clarify some of these issues. I don't know, but that's possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, Derek, thanks.
Well, I guess, is there a sense that we are going to need to do anything in response to these rule changes? Or is there a kind of agreement that we can sort of move on and not try to pick through these anymore?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, if there's nothing further on item F, moving to item G. And this will really just be an update for you. The State Board of Education's Committee on Instruction has been working over the summer to develop recommended updates to their dyslexia handbook. They assigned 2 committees to develop recommendations, 1 committee to review updates related to screening students, and a second committee to review updates related to identification of students with dyslexia. They had hoped to have these recommendations completed and ready to present at their September meeting, which was September 11th through 14th. However, they were unable to complete everything in time for that meeting. And so they're hoping to have them done in time for their November meeting, which is coming up November 13th through 16th. They've said that they will post the draft of the changes online for public. I think that means at the TEA website. I think that's where they previously posted this. So anyone who is interested in reviewing that and submitting comments, you can do that through the TEA's procedures for comment making. After any revisions to the handbook are finalized, they plan to amend their administrative rules in the same section we just discussed, and they want to incorporate the handbook into that rule by referring to it as a figure. So where they have referenced now the handbook, they'll have, I guess, a link to it where you can click on it and have access to the full handbook. But the legal effect of doing that will be to make the handbook legally a part of the legal requirements in their administrative rules. And the idea is that the school districts will adhere more closely to the handbook if it's actually made a part of their administrative regulations, as opposed to just seen as a document for guidance. So that's their intent for incorporating it into the rules. So we will know more about all of this after their November meeting, hopefully, assuming that they've completed their work in that regard. So that's the only update I have as far as that goes, but I'm happy to entertain any discussion or questions about any of that.
Robin Kauser, I do want to point out that that will be up on the TEA dyslexia website, and hopefully it's supposed to be put up sometime this week.
Oh, okay.
Is for public review. And we need to get on that website quickly and review it, because they're going to want to finalize it and have it ready for that November meeting. And so if there is, that's the time for any public comment. And so be watching. Get on your website this week under TEA Dyslexia and see if they've posted it yet or not.
Absolutely.
And because I think the hope is at the November meeting, it's going to be set for approval. Just, okay? Any comments or questions?
No.
Thanks, Darren.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, well, we are down to recommendations for any items for the next committee meeting. I don't see Mary, who I usually, she holds my hand at this point, so.
Well, I'll hold your hand, but I won't do as good of a job as
Thanks,
Mary.
Carla. Well,
I think that in the discussion with Derek, there may need to be a little bit of follow-up for some clarity on TEA's rules, so we should go ahead and put that down. You said that, well, it really depends on when we're going to have y'all's next meeting, whether or not TEA will have already put out the information on the handbook. So I think we can tentatively put that down, but I'm not sure that we can represent the information in TEA's handbook. So we can certainly reach out and see if they have someone that would like to come visit with us.
That would be great.
So once we get that date set, we will reach out to TEA, see if they can come do a little dog and pony for us maybe on the handbook.
Okay. I've got a couple of other things I'd like to add to the agenda. I think because in light of the current situation with so many different questions and so many different qualifications being counted as specialist, therapist, interventionist, whatever, I would like to see if we could have the education and examination work group meet before the next advisory board meeting.
So you're looking for an update from the education and
Or at least
examination?
a report, yes. So to have the opportunity, and it happens that I am on that work group, and Betty is as well.
Okay.
So does that work for you?
Yes, you let me know when.
Okay, and Carla, I'm not sure who would be the person that would be overseeing that from
I'll get in
TDLR.
touch with Ray Pizarro, he's our director of
Okay.
E&E, and have them reach out to you all to set up a meeting. And we can certainly do it over the phone, no need to come in.
Okay.
Okay, all right, great. And I had one more.
Jerry's hiding in the corner, so we know it's going to happen. Okay,
Thanks,
consider it
Jerry.
done then.
Okay, and I had one more quick question, and maybe it's something that can hit the next on the agenda, but we do have a position on the advisory board, and I know that there was something posted for people to apply for that position. Have there been any applicants for that?
Okay, so no applications today.
Okay. All right, so,
So
that,
you can put out a little call since you're on TV right now, if you like, to have some people apply.
I would like to put out a notice that anybody that is interested in sitting on the advisory board for licensed dyslexia therapists and practitioners, there's an application that is on the TDLR website, and also for any of those of you who might be interested, we might see if we can put it on the Alta website as well to direct people to the incredible opportunity that is available to them.
Thank you for that plug.
Okay.
So Latricia Nigos, what position is available?
Well, we have one of our members that has not, that's not shown up. And so is that a parent position? Is it a, Delia, are you
Do
sure?
they need to be a CALT?
Well,
The public member?
we have a, yeah, let us get some clarity on that. I'm getting two pieces of information in two different ears. So it's not going to hurt for people to submit their application regardless,
Thank you.
and we will see what happens, but we'll get some clarity for you on that, and Delia will reach out and let you know what the status is.
Okay. All right, very good. Okay, so here we are, date and time of the next meeting.
Bear with us for just a moment.
Sure.
Well, Derek Burkhalter here. With regard to dates, I think we should probably wait until the TEA's next board meeting and see if they've made the revisions to their handbook. Because if they have, we may want to meet relatively soon after that. But if they've postponed it until another meeting, we may want to, delay any scheduling until we know for sure when they'll be finished.
Okay, so how does that, you all will just contact us after we
Right.
know what
Yes, ma'am.
has happened with
Yes,
the
ma'am.
handbook? Okay, that sounds good.
Helen Masick, I'd like to add here, I just received a message from Melanie Royal, who is the state dyslexia coordinator, and she's evidently watching us via the broadcast, and says that the handbook will not be up for public comment this week, but hopefully the first week of October. So just a little clarification
Just a
there.
couple weeks away?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so we know it's at least going to be after that. All right, well, looking at the clock, it is about 7 minutes after 11, and unless we have any other business. Okay, this meeting is adjourned.